I had always been one to avoid unknown numbers on my phone, but when I received a voicemail from an unknown number one evening, my curiosity got the better of me. The message was short and to the point, but it left me with a chill that would stay with me for weeks to come. "Hello, this is a message for Sarah. I know what you did." The voice on the recording was cold and emotionless, sending shivers down my spine. My heart raced as I tried to think of what the caller could possibly be referring to. I didn't recognize the voice, and I couldn't imagine what I could have done to warrant such a cryptic message. I tried to shake it off and forget about it, but that was easier said than done. Over the next few days, I felt like I was being watched. Every time I turned around, it felt like someone was lurking just out of sight. The sense of being constantly observed gnawed at my nerves, making it difficult to focus on anything else. Shadows danced in the corner of my vision, and even familiar sounds became sinister whispers in my ears. Sleep became elusive as my mind spun with thoughts of the unknown caller. The voicemail message kept replaying in my head, haunting me with its vague threat. I tried to convince myself that it was all a prank, that someone was playing a sick joke on me. But deep down, a sense of foreboding grew stronger with each passing day. Then one night, as I was lying in bed trying to fall asleep, my phone rang. I groggily reached for it, not bothering to check the number before answering. "Hello," I mumbled, my voice laced with weariness. There was a brief moment of silence before a voice whispered in my ear, its words dripping with malevolence. "I'm watching you." My heart stopped, and a surge of adrenaline jolted through my veins. The voice was chillingly close, as if the person was right beside me. I bolted upright, my heart racing as I scrambled to turn on the lamp on my bedside table. But there was no one there, just me, alone in my darkened bedroom, the silence echoing around me. Fear gripped me like a vice as I clutched my phone, wondering how this caller could invade my personal space so easily. Was it a prank, or something more sinister? The uncertainty gnawed at my sanity, casting doubts on the safety of my own home. Over the next few weeks, the calls and voicemails continued, each one more menacing than the last. The caller seemed to know everything about me, where I lived, where I worked, even my daily routine. No matter how vigilant I became, the feeling of being observed persisted, a constant weight on my shoulders. I was terrified to leave my house, and even when I was safe inside, I was sure that someone was watching me from the shadows. Sleep became an elusive luxury, my nights filled with restlessness and paranoid glances over my shoulder. Every creak of the floorboard sent my heart into overdrive, and the sound of the wind outside seemed like a chorus of whispers, taunting me with their secrets. Then one day, I received voicemail that changed everything. "I'm coming for you, Sarah," the voice on the other end said, its tone filled with a chilling determination. "And this time, I won't miss." A wave of sheer terror crashed over me as those words echoed in my ears. The veil of anonymity that the caller had hidden behind was now torn away, leaving behind a faceless enemy who threatened to bring my worst nightmares to life. Panic consumed me, but amidst the fear, a flicker of defiance ignited within me. I knew then that I had to take action. The police seemed like my only hope, so I gathered my courage and went to them, trembling with fear and desperation. However, their skeptical expressions greeted me, and I struggled to convince them of the gravity of the situation. Without any concrete evidence, they couldn't do much to help me. But I refused to let this faceless, nameless stalker control my life any longer. Determination welled up within me, and I made a vow to protect myself. I took self-defense classes learning how to defend against any potential threat. I installed a comprehensive security system in my home, complete with surveillance cameras and motion sensors. And above all, I made a point of always being aware of my surroundings, constantly vigilant for any signs of danger. And finally, one day, the calls and voicemails stopped. The silence was deafening, and a sense of relief washed over me. Perhaps my actions had deterred my tormentor, or maybe they had simply moved on to a new target. Regardless, the nightmare had come to an end. But even though I never found out who was behind the messages, the memory of those chilling words still haunts me to this day. The scars of that experience run deep, etched into my psyche like an indelible mark. And every time my phone rings, I still feel a twinge of fear deep in my gut, wondering if the nightmare is about to start all over again. I never expected to receive a voicemail that would terrify me to the core, but that's exactly what happened on that fateful day. It started like any other mundane morning with me going about my usual routine. As I groggily reached for my phone, I noticed the blinking voicemail icon indicating an unread message. Curiosity piqued. I tapped on it, expecting to hear the usual automated voice or perhaps a message from a friend. Little did I know that the haunting words I was about to hear would unravel my sense of safety and plunge me into a nightmare. I pressed play, and a crackling, distorted voice emanated from the speaker, sending shivers down my spine. It felt as if the voice was whispering from a parallel dimension, scratching at the fabric of reality. Straining my ears, I struggled to decipher the words, feeling an inexplicable pull towards the message. The voice was eerie and otherworldly, making it nearly impossible to understand. Yet, despite the auditory chaos, an unexplainable sense of dread settled in my gut. The voice spoke of unspeakable horrors lurking in the darkest corners of existence, of a malevolence so profound that it sent chills coursing through my veins. Each syllable carried an ominous weight, as if the speaker was intimately acquainted with the sinister forces that plagued the world. It was no ordinary prank call or a dialing mishap. This voicemail knew things about me, private, personal details that no stranger should possess. My mind raced, attempting to rationalize the situation. Could it be an elaborate hoax, a cruel joke orchestrated by someone with a twisted sense of amusement? But deep down, I knew there was something far more sinister at play. The voice on the voicemail, though garbled and distorted, conveyed an undeniable sense of purpose, an intention to inflict terror and despair. Though I tried to push the unnerving message to the back of my mind, its weight persisted, looming over me like a dark cloud. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of movement in the corner of my eye became a source of paralyzing anxiety. The world, once familiar and predictable, transformed into a treacherous landscape where unseen threats lurked at every turn. Nightfall descended upon me like a suffocating shroud. As I prepared for bed, a sense of unease settled in, gnawing at my nerves. Just as I was about to drift into uneasy slumber, my phone buzzed with a new voicemail. Dread washed over me, chilling me to the bone, yet an irresistible compulsion drew me towards that foreboding message. With trembling hands, I played the voicemail, and this time the voice on the other end was even more malicious, dripping with sadistic satisfaction. It spoke of imminent darkness and whispered promises of a nocturnal visitation, painting vivid images of a malevolent presence that would soon breach the boundaries of my reality. I tried desperately to convince myself that it was all a sick prank, that some disturbed individual took pleasure in tormenting unsuspecting victims, but my attempts at rationalization crumbled beneath the weight of mounting evidence. The voice knew too much, revealing intimate details of my life, secrets buried deep within the recesses of my mind. There was no denying it. This was not a cruel joke. It was a twisted dance with an entity that hungered for my fear, relishing in its power to unhinge me. As I lay in bed, consumed by a cocktail of anxiety and terror, I heard an unsettling sound from outside my window, a faint scratching like skeletal fingers scraping against the glass. My heart pounded against my ribcage, matching the frantic rhythm of the eerie noise. Each scratch sent waves of dread crashing through me, threatening to drown me in a sea of helplessness. Suddenly, a deafening crash shattered the tranquility of my room. My window exploded into 1,000 fragments, showering the floor with shards of glass. I screamed, stumbling backward, desperate to put distance between myself and the intrusion. Through the shattered window, I glimpsed something monstrous, a dark silhouette with hulking proportions, moving with an unnerving grace. Fear rendered me immobile, my feet rooted to the spot as if held captive by an unseen force. The voice from the voicemail echoed in my mind, taunting me with its premonitions of impotence. As the abomination outside closed in, its heavy footsteps and labored breathing filled the void of the night, amplifying my terror. In that moment of dreadful clarity, I realized the depths of my isolation. There was no one to turn to, no ally to provide solace or salvation. The world had abandoned me, leaving me to confront this eldritch nightmare alone. The distorted voice on the voicemail rose above the chaos, its words a final decree before everything plunged into darkness. The chilling promise of a fate worse than death hung in the air, seeping into my consciousness as I succumbed to unconsciousness. As the veil of oblivion enveloped me, I knew that I would never be the same again. I always thought that voicemails were a thing of the past, relics of a bygone era. With text messaging and instant communication at our fingertips, who really leaves voicemails anymore? But that all changed when I received a message that would haunt me for the rest of my life. It was a cold, stormy night, and I was alone in my dimly lit apartment, seeking solace from the howling wind outside. The pitter-patter of raindrops on my window created an eerie ambiance, heightening my sense of unease. As I settled into my worn-out couch, ready to lose myself in a book, my phone buzzed with a new notification. The sudden interruption startled me. I retrieved my phone and noticed an unfamiliar number displayed on the screen. Alongside it, a notification indicated a missed call and a voicemail. A surge of curiosity mingled with a hint of apprehension coursed through me. Who could be trying to reach me at this late hour? Was it merely a telemarketer, or perhaps a wrong number dialed in haste? Despite my reservations, an insatiable curiosity gnawed at me, compelling me to uncover the enigma behind that mysterious voicemail. I mustered the courage and tapped on the play button. At first, the only sound that echoed through the device was a crackling static. It filled the void, making it difficult to decipher any other noises lurking within. Nevertheless, amidst the interference, a low and gravelly voice emerged, barely audible over the persistent crackling. The man's words were muffled, almost as if he were speaking from a faraway place. I strained my ears, furrowing my brow in an attempt to unravel the message concealed beneath the veil of static. As the voicemail progressed, the static gradually subsided, giving way to the chilling clarity of the man's words. His voice sent shivers down my spine, his tone tinged with an indescribable darkness. He spoke of things I had never heard before, like ancient rituals steeped in blood, sacrifices made to appease nameless entities, and unspeakable acts that defied the very fabric of sanity. It was as though he was divulging these horrors to me alone, recounting his experiences with a vividness that defied reason. I felt my heart pounding against my rib cage, its erratic rhythm matching the mounting terror within me. Beads of sweat formed on my palms as I clutched the phone tightly, unable to tear my attention away. It was like a nightmarish veil had been lifted, allowing me to peer into the darkest recesses of humanity's collective nightmares. My mind screamed for me to end the torment, to press the stop button and shut out the horrors that now permeated my consciousness. But I couldn't. I was paralyzed, held captive by the sheer macabre fascination that gripped me. I listened, my breath caught in my throat, as the man's voice grew more frenzied with each passing moment. His words became a cacophony of fear and desperation, driving a chill deep into the marrow of my bones. And then, abruptly, the voicemail ended, leaving me suspended in a vacuum of silence. The abruptness of it all left me disoriented, as though the very fabric of reality had been shredded and sewn back together in haste. I sat there, the weight of the chilling revelation settling heavily upon me. My gaze remained fixated on the phone, its screen a source of both dread and intrigue. Questions swirled in my mind, coiling like serpents ready to strike. Who was this man, and why had he reached out to me? What had he wanted from me? Fear intertwined with curiosity, fueling my imagination with a relentless pursuit of answers that may forever elude me. As I contemplated my next course of action, a peculiar sensation washed over me, a sense of being watched, of unseen eyes boring into my very soul. The stillness of the apartment was shattered by a soft but unmistakable knock at my front door. My heart leaped into my throat, its rhythm racing like a wild stallion. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end, a primal instinct warning me of impending danger. I hesitated for a moment, torn between the primal urge to flee and the need to confront the source of this disturbance. Summoning a fragile courage, I rose from the couch and cautiously made my way toward the door. Every step felt heavy, as though I were trudging through quicksand. The air grew thick with anticipation, each passing second stretching into an eternity. Reaching for the door handle, I steadied my trembling hand and turned it slowly, causing the aged hinges to creak in protest. The door swung open, revealing a sight that would forever be seared into the recesses of my mind. Standing on my doorstep was a man, the same man from the voicemail. His disheveled appearance and manic expression sent a jolt of primal fear coursing through my veins. Before I could react, he lunged towards me, driven by an unhinged desperation that bordered on madness. Instinct kicked in, and I slammed the door shut with all my might, narrowly evading his grasp. The impact reverberated through the apartment, drowning out the sound of my racing heartbeat. I sprinted to the safety of the back of the apartment, my mind a whirlwind of panic and confusion. My fingers trembled as I fumbled to dial 911, their touch betraying the fear that had consumed me. The operator's voice offered a fleeting lifeline, a glimmer of hope in the encroaching darkness. I relayed my harrowing encounter, my voice laden with terror and urgency. The police promised to dispatch help, their words a faint solace in the face of the unknown. The relentless pounding on the front door persisted, accompanied by the man's muffled shouts laden with obscenities. His deranged fervor only intensified, echoing through the walls of my sanctuary. I huddled in a corner, clutching the phone tightly to my chest, praying for the authorities to arrive swiftly. Moments later, the distant wails of sirens pierced through the night, a symphony of salvation that offered a sliver of hope. The sound grew louder, its crescendo signaling the arrival of the police. And just as abruptly as the chaos had erupted, it ceased. The man vanished into the shadows, slipping through the grip of justice, leaving behind only a trail of unanswered questions and unrelenting terror. Since that harrowing night, he had not crossed my path again. The passage of time offered a semblance of normalcy, but the voicemail's haunting echoes lingered within me, etching themselves into the fabric of my very being. Who was that man? Why had he targeted me? What horrors had he witnessed? These questions gnawed at my sanity, refusing to yield answers that may forever remain buried in the depths of the unknown. The experience left an indelible mark upon my soul, forever altering my perception of the world. The once familiar comfort of a voicemail had transformed into a portal to darkness, forever tainted by the chilling encounter that unfolded on that fateful night. It was a reminder that the most innocuous aspects of our lives can harbor the unimaginable, lurking just beyond the veil of our perception. And so I remain haunted, forever burdened by the weight of an unsolved mystery and the lingering fear that accompanies it. The voicemail served as a grim reminder that evil can find its way into the most unsuspecting corners of our lives, leaving us forever changed and forever vigilant. The phone may ring, but I will never listen to a voicemail in the same way again, for fear of what horrors may lie within its depths.